Good morning and welcome to your Friday lettings update. So, been off for 2 weeks, what's happened? Quite a few bits actually. The first thing was that the courts opened for repossession hearings on the 21st of September. And I sort of think that's where it stopped, because there are around about 42,000 hearings outstanding. Only 50% of the courts are actually opened due to social distancing. Because of social distancing, the hearings anecdotally are reduced from around about 20 a day to 10 a day. So we are looking, or the pundits are saying, we're looking at really a delay in getting possession of around about 12 to 18 months. Not great news. However, I suppose it's really why you want possession. Shelter, big headline, anything between 170 to 174,000 tenants are threatened with eviction. There's two queries there. One is the number, because if there are 42,000 cases to be heard, that means you're looking at around about 4 households, 4 people to a household, which contradicts the Office of National Statistics, which says there are 2.4 houses. So there's something wrong with those. One of those figures is not right. The other thing is the word threatened. And yes, threatened, but as said, the delay is really between anything from 12 to 18 months. So it's going to be a long term. So what do you do in that situation? And thank God, none of our clients are in that situation. But what do you do? I think you've got to make sure that you're dealing with a solicitor that really deals absolutely and totally only with landlord and tenant law. Things are changing so quickly, and there are so many pitfalls being put in the place of actually getting people out of properties that, to be perfectly honest, you need to be in the right place. We use a company, Payne Smith, use them for years, and they are absolutely great. So a little plug there for Payne Smith. But also bailiffs. So let's say you've got your order for possession. You've really got between now and the 11th of December to gain possession, absolute possession, because bailiffs' hands are also being tied up. And with that, why I said 11th of December, because between the 11th of December and the 11th of January, then that's it. No evictions will happen whatsoever. So make sure you're in the right place, dealing with the right people. And also maybe think of a negotiation of getting your tenant out, because at the moment, the courts aren't really going to be on your side of things. Other rumblings in the market are that, well, in Wales and Scotland, they have started to give loans to tenants who owe rent. Long-term loans, interest-free loans. But what that's doing is so much more positive to keep someone in a property. The private rental sector is made up of 2 parts. It's made up of tenants and landlords, and there's a total synergy between both. But if one part can't afford to pay the rental, the other part really starts suffering. So there's no benefit to having a tenant who cannot pay their rent. And in this circumstances, it really is a case that certain people will need help. So the National Residential Landlords Association, I know, are really pushing government to actually say, well, why can't we do the same thing in England? Because that would solve a number of problems. But how big is that problem? Well, if you've been listening to these updates since March, so I started, you would know that we had started something called our COVID tracking sheet. And the main reason we did that was to really make sure we knew where the help was needed. So we spoke to all of our tenants and found out their situation, and just really got to the basis of where are the problems and what do we need to do about them. And also from landlords, it's just saying, look, you've got a bit of a headwind coming. So where are we at the moment? As at the end of September, our tracking sheet shows that we are looking, or we've got around about 5% of our tenants on our watch list. Of those, 4% are actually on payment plans. So yes, they're in arrears, but really it's a case we know what's going on. We have 0.75% of people where we have an issue, where these people would so benefit from a government loan. So that's where the help is. And there's not, from our point of view, there's not a mass of people. But what are we doing with those 0.75%? We're actually going through helping them really with just filling out forms, helping them with universal credit. Alison, I was talking to my colleague Alison, and she said there's something dramatically wrong here. Their situation, everything says they should be getting universal credit. So they must have filled out their form incorrectly. So we're actually going through that. And that's the sort of detail to make sure people are happy in their homes and make sure that landlords are actually getting paid, because really that's what it's all about. The Renters Reform Bill, mentioned about loans. Renters Reform Bill is there. It's going to get rid of this Section 21 notice. And I've mentioned Section 21 notice. It's a no-fault eviction notice. But the Housing Minister has said until it's economically and socially viable to actually do so, they're not going to be looking into it. So that sounds like I'm going to kick that one into the long grass for the moment. Bless him. But I actually found a headline that I actually agreed with. Oh, how about that? And it said that, I'm going to read it here, no sign of the rental market slowing down. Okay, so how can I say I agree with it? Well, again, looking at very quickly what we did in September. It's the 1st of October, 2nd of October, but really it's a case of just having a look at that. So our applicants, the number of people looking for properties, have increased by 45%. Dick. The number of deals that we've done, and this is comparing September 19 with September 20. The number of deals we've done has increased by 17%. Tick. The number of void days, that's in between, well, losing rent or ending rent with one tenant to go on to gaining rent from another, has reduced by 4 days. We're now looking at 18 days, just so you know that's the exact figure, but that includes weekends. And it also includes the fact that a number of landlords are repainting properties and just getting them together. So you can't do that immediate turnaround. But as I say, we're actually seeing a reduction. The other thing that would be of interest to people, I would think, certainly if you're coming into the market, and maybe to put your mind at rest if your property is being remarketed, the number of properties on the market has reduced by 17%, which I think is an obvious explanation as to why rents have actually increased by 2% year on year. So we're still going in the right direction from that point of view. So that's my update for today. Next week, I'm going to be looking at P29 and P28 in detail, really sort of seeing the rents and house sales and things like that. Did it with P27 a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of you said that was really, really useful. So I will be doing that. But in the meantime, stay safe, wash those hands, and I'll see you next week. Take care.